we have this microphone going? Can you guys hear me? Okay, so he's going to turn on the microphone now so I can go like this and I sound the same. RCNs, or Research Coordination Networks, are sponsored by the National Science Foundation, and they're really set up to do one thing, and that's to build a network of researchers to tackle emergent challenges in our case, in biological sciences. They have the recognition that transformative discoveries in science are going to be hinged upon interdisciplinary, multinational collaboration among scientists. And historically in science, we've been in silos. And what we're trying to do through this RCN is to break down these silos and get people to coordinate and cooperate and to collaborate on the research that they do. An RCN is not a mechanism to fund research. So we have funding from the National Science Foundation to do things like this, to bring together researchers and to share ideas and to communicate ideas among the group. The goals are to advance the field, support groups of investigators to communicate and coordinate their research, to train and educate across disciplinary, organizational, geographic, and international boundaries. So we're working really hard in that direction, and to foster new collaborations. Specifically, for this RCN, we are predicting vertebrate responses to a changing climate, the title, modeling from genomes to phenomes to populations. It's kind of funny, I was explaining this to a colleague of mine in Brazil, and I shared the title, and he says, well, why don't you just call it biology? And he has a point there. I mean, this is really broad, what we're trying to do. We are a group of people that include researchers at all levels of biological organizations, spanning from genomes to populations. In addition, we have been recruiting modelers and the math folks to be embedded in these research programs such that we can model across levels of biological organization. There's good modeling and statistical techniques that exist within levels of biological organization. For example, the omics revolution has resulted in this bioinformatics. Population biologists, really good at their modeling. Physiologists, not so much so. So we need to develop capacity within those levels of biological organization such that we can develop new math, if you will, to extrapolate across levels of biological organization, such that we can predict resiliencies and vulnerabilities of species to climate change and other environmental stressors. So for us, our primary activities include what we're doing right now. We are hosting workshops that foster education and formation of new research groups. So from this, we have a workshop, at least one per year over the next 5 years. They're going to be hosted in different cities and have different topical areas. And I encourage all of you to apply to join in any of these upcoming RCN workshops, as you did to join this one. So we have our first day where we have experts from the field come in and bring us up to speed on what they're doing and share with us the tools of their trade such that we can integrate those into the research that we're doing through our collaborative endeavors. We are funding exchanges between laboratories. We've all experienced this. You have two PIs sitting across the table saying, yeah, we should really collaborate. This is a really good idea. It never happens. The only way that that can happen is if you stick a body between those two PIs. So what we're doing is funding laboratory exchanges for students and postdocs primarily to go to another lab to learn a new technique and solidify that potential for collaboration. We are going to be disseminating webinars, etc., from the workshops and other products that we produce. Those are all going to be on the web. So after this workshop is over, all of the talks from today will be made available online. And then we're developing and distributing educational modules to incorporate into the curricula of K-12 classrooms. So we have the teachers that are here in the audience that are part of the Clark County School District that will be working with one of our steering committee members, Jennifer Utz, and they are developing modules that they can roll out in their classroom that will be beta tested in Clark County and then made internationally available for people that want to utilize those resources. So I am the PI of this award, and I'd like to acknowledge my co-PIs, Allison Hindle and Nika Gaelic. We have a steering committee made up of a diverse set of scientists with respect to discipline and geographic region. I want to also acknowledge our student representative and outreach coordinator, Haley Hansen. She's up here and she's going to be operating our camera here. And then the support staff that's here day in and day out, making sure that the RCN activities are completed and organized. Megan Coe, who's the business manager for the Center for Bioengineering Innovation, and our student worker, Gabrielle Chambers. Without Megan, none of this stuff would be happening. She is a wizard when it comes to organization and making sure that all of the travel and the website and all these things are taken care of. So thank you, Megan. Okay, so this is my last slide in the introduction and we'll get going. So what have we done so far to make this happen? Our primary goal is to grow a network, and right now we are up to somewhere around 115 members. We have at least 40 universities and agencies represented from at least 12 countries. So we've shown some really phenomenal growth, and I expect this to keep growing and anticipate that we'll be at 400 to 600 members by the end of the RCN. So these are our upcoming workshops that we're doing. So this one, Navigating Climate Change, here we are supporting 38 participants to be here, people from international as well as national universities and agencies. The next one's going to be Modeling Genomes to Phenomes to Populations, and I think that's going to be in Minneapolis. Is that right, Nika? It's going to be there? Okay. And then in summer 2020, Assessing High Throughput Genomic Approaches. That'll be in Cambridge, probably at the Broad Institute. Then our next one is Modeling Mechanisms of Phenotypic Plasticity and Epigenetics. That'll be at UNLV, hosted by Jennifer and Frank. And then the last one is really the exciting one. It's going to be in Paraty, Brazil. We have some benefactors that are willing to support that workshop. So we had budgeted for about 20 to 25 participants to fly internationally to Brazil to engage in this workshop. These individuals in Brazil have agreed to open up their facilities there and provide all of the meals and housing, so that means that we can probably transport 40 or 50 people to this workshop. So we would have the workshop take place in the first week. The second week, the steering committee and others that are interested are going to stick around, do the NSF final report, put in an application, an outline for an application for an STC proposal, and take care of all of the miscellaneous paperwork while hanging out on the beach in Brazil. We are training through exchange between laboratories. Thus far, we've only funded 4. We've had 2 international exchanges and 2 domestic exchanges. We can fund about 15 of these per year and possibly more. We may have partner funding for this as well. So encourage your students, or if you are a student or postdoc, certainly think about applying. Where do you want to go? Where do you need to go to enhance the impact of the research that you're doing, to broaden what you're doing in your research? Okay, so this stuff's advertised, it's online. Check out the website, and you'll be kept up to date with our activities. And then as this goes along, we'll be getting reports on how these educational modules are coming together. And quite likely, many of you in the room are going to be contacted by these educators from Clark County School District in Las Vegas to provide them with materials and to do review of the materials that they are producing. So, without much more delay here, I want to get into our first day of the workshop. We have a very distinguished group of climate scientists that have agreed to come and share the work that they've been doing over the past decades. These are all very well recognized international scientists. We're going to start with Dr. Scott Getz. He's a professor here at NAU, been here for 2 years or so. And he is noted for his expertise in satellite remote sensing research for environmental science applications. That'll be followed this morning by Dr. Andrew Richardson, also a professor here at NAU, and has been here for a year, right? Andrew, where are you, Andrew? Yeah, 1 year. And his research focuses on the impacts of global climate change on terrestrial ecosystems and the feedbacks between the atmosphere and ecosystems and climate change. We're going to take a break then for lunch, and you can all disappear, go to where you need to go, and then we'll reconvene in the afternoon for our final two speakers. Dr. Tom Whittam, he's a Regents Professor here at NAU and has been operating a really fascinating transect for a number of years, and he'll be sharing results from that, I'm sure, on plant-herbivore interactions and community-level understanding and consequences of plant genetics and environmental stress on keystone species. And then we'll wrap it up with Dr. Stephen Jackson, who I learned just recently was an NAU professor back in the early 90s. And he is currently the director of the USGS Southwest Climate Adaptation Science Center in Tucson and was formerly a professor of biology at the University of Wyoming. And his expertise lies in the arena of vegetation and climate history of North America since last glacial maximum and adaptation to climate change. So with that, I think I'm going to hand the reins over to Scott, and we'll get this thing rolling.